Last week, we talked about the eroticness that is the dancing of Jonathan Groff, the wonderfulness of Total Eclipse of the Heart, and the hystericalness of Run Joey Run. And that's what you missed on Glee.
Boot.
Yes. I was like, what? Boom. Okay. Thanks for the hype. Yes. We're going.
Gleeboot.
Gleeboot. Yes.
That's the podcast.
That's the podcast.
Gleeboot.
This week we're here to talk about laryngitis.
Not just the disease. That's the title of the show.
We're spreading awareness.
Laryngitis exists, guys.
We're having a 5K for the entire office.
We have an office? This is news to me.
We're a small business.
Yeah.
Small businesses don't need offices these days.
True. Technically, we're remote because I live in a different place than you guys do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to quickly make my joke from that I told you guys last week that I didn't get to make on air because I forgot. Last week, I was recording from Beverly Hills, Florida, and you guys are close to Beverly Hills, California. It plays better in the text that I sent you guys, but I thought that was very important. I actually thought about pretending that I
You were
was
still in Beverly Hills.
so I could make the joke, but then I just decided against it. It was as boring as this episode was.
Oh, okay. Come on now. I actually like this episode.
Really? Oh my god. I mean, I didn't hate it. I was just like, I'm bored.
No, it's full on. I am not going to lie here. Probably either my first or second choice of like all the episodes we've seen.
Wow.
Yeah,
all right.
I was surprised. But I was like, also I didn't like straight up hate it, so I'm like, okay, I see why.
It has some good tunes, okay? And I like the stories. And there was no Schuster story.
There was no Schuster story.
There were like no adults except for Kurt's dad, and I was like, I'm here for Bert. Like that's
exactly.
That's the only adult we want.
He's the only adult.
Yeah. I was thinking about how this was almost Glee kind of coming into its own because there was no Schuster plot and there was a lot of singing.
There was a lot of singing. I was like, another song? Oh my god. But I was into it.
Yeah, no, I enjoy a good musical, so I'm like, yes, please sing more, please less have Will talk. That didn't make any sense, but it's the spirit that counts.
I think I really don't have a lot of notes. I didn't have a lot to complain about at all. And I think that's why I was like, I'm kind of bored. Like, I'm not raging. What do I do? Do I actually sit here and enjoy this?
I like it a lot. See, Hannah, you need to learn how to like things.
I go into Glee and I'm just like so tense. Like, oh, I'm ready to punch something. And then I was like, I feel very zen. So I think I actually kind of liked this episode. I was actually pretty chill, but I was also like kind of bored. But it was fine. It was fine.
But it was not as boring as the other chill episode that we watched.
Oh yeah, with the slow songs.
Yes, the slow songs, boring episode.
Wasn't that the one that ended with Kurt looking creepily into Finn's home?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was, yeah. Which is also related to this episode.
Yeah.
The weird thing is I feel like that the episode where all of the weird slow songs were in this episode, that storyline with Kurt and Finn and Kurt's father has just like skipped over all of the rest of the episodes that we watched and just completely is in this episode now.
Yeah.
Like they were like, okay, we have this storyline. Let's decide which episodes we're going to put them in. This one's going to be, the beginning of it's going to be here. And then we're going to skip, let's arbitrarily say 5 episodes. I don't actually know how many episodes it was.
I think it was 1 or 2.
Really?
It feels like a lot longer.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
arbitrarily skip 2 episodes and just reconvene the plot again.
It's like literally nothing had happened in that storyline, and then they're just like dropping us into it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad about it, honestly.
No, I quite enjoyed this episode, as I have already said.
Hey,
So-
Alyssa, did you like this episode?
Did I not mention that?
I don't think so. What are your opinions?
My goodness. I want to say that it's either 1 or 2 on my list.
Wow, that's a big honor. That's just a second take in case something happened and we missed the first take. But yeah, no, like I texted you guys, I was kind of zen during this episode, so I decided to pour myself a shot of tequila with this amazing blueberry lemonade that I have. So I'm having a little bit of a kind of margarita.
We're having Sam Adams Winter Lager.
Oh, nice. Boston.
Yeah,
Where we
Boston.
met.
Channeling those Boston vibes because we're both a little hungover.
Well, I was hungover earlier today. I'm no longer hungover.
I think I'm still like 10% hungover.
Okay.
10%.
Yeah, officially.
Partied hard last night.
Yeah.
Not with Cullen, actually. Separate parties.
Oh, nice.
We were together by the bonds of friendship, but partying in separate locales.
Yes.
Beautiful.
All right. Before we dive into this episode, I want to talk about something even more dramatic, which I witnessed today. This is a total Cullen's corner. Witnessed today at church. Like there are these 2 little kids, like from separate families, in 2 pews in front of me, and one was playing with blocks, and one was playing with like a little hairbrush that was like her favorite thing to like rub on her bald dad's head, like I'm combing your hair. And the first, like, he dropped a block, and then she picked it up, and he was upset because then she had his block and she was gonna give it to him, and then she gave it to him, and then she was like trying to be really nice and gave the brush to him, and then he gave it back, and then later she like gives the brush to him, and he's about to take it, and she's like, "This is mine."
Wow.
It was just a lot of ups and downs, turns, changes of heart. It was a full drama.
It was like
So I can tell what you were paying attention to in church today.
Yeah, I was so distracted.
Yeah, what was the what's it called, a homily? Is that
Yes.
what was the homily about, Cullen? What did you learn about Jesus?
It was good. It was about being authentic.
Wow.
Cool.
Okay.
And I'm authentically distracted by little kids' shenanigans. Like, he somehow, like, one of his shoes came off. And the mom's just, like, putting it back on. And I just, like,
Chaos.
like, A+ to parents out there. Because I know I was a kid a tough kid to handle. And kids are so much.
Kids are a lot.
Are we saying we're a pro-kid podcast? That's a big statement.
We're pro kids and we're pro parents because parents are doing their best.
All right, pro parents. I can get behind that.
Most parents.
Most parents, yeah.
Yeah, some parents.
Pro most parents.
Most parents. Pro parents who are truly doing their best and trying hard.
Hot takes from Gleeboot.
Loving Cullen's Corner this week.
Cullen's Corner. And that's how Cullen sees it.
Whoa!
I never connected that there's Sue's Corner and Cullen's Corner until just now.
When you did that, Cullen sees it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, now we can do that.
Now it's a thing. It happens. All right. There were only, from what I remember, 3 main plots in Laryngitis. There was the Rachel Finn plot, there was the Kurt and his dad plot, and there was the couple I like to call Muck plot.
Ugh, yeah.
Because that's how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Should we start with Muck?
Yeah.
Get it out of the way. Yeah. So this show operates under this assumption that I care about Puck, and
That's a good way to put it.
But here's the thing, okay? I was talking to one of my friends about our podcast and the way that we talk about the show, and he was saying that Puck is a lot of people's favorite character.
Who
said this?
Whose favorite character? What are his sources? What are this person's sources?
It was a huge surprise to me.
This is like when Jesse tried to get sources on Rachel. What was that last episode? And I was like, who are your sources, Jesse?
Jacob Ben Israel, Susie Pepper.
R.I.P. Susie Pepper.
Apparently he has a change of heart. Can't wait for that to happen.
Does he?
Characters don't truly change on Glee. I feel like that's their message. It's like in Bridesmaids, do people change or do they grow?
I literally did not remember this muck storyline at all. So when it started happening, I was literally just writing ew in my notes.
I do remember it. I do remember. So the storyline in question is, in order to check a mole, the doctor shaves off Puck's skunk-looking mohawk. And now no one thinks he's a badass anymore, because now he just looks like a 38-year-old in high school.
Not a 38-year-old trying to look 17, maybe, and failing.
Oh.
And so the nerds are looking at him in the eye, and he lost his mojo, and they threw him in the dumpster because his Twitter poll is down.
I feel like he looks more like a badass without the mohawk.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the whole thing. Because people, literally, is it all just about, it's about appearances, isn't it?
But
the whole thing.
He looks more like a badass because he looks more adult without the mohawk.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jacob Ben Israel's rankings are that he just keeps talking about, like his popularity is off the charts. I was like, what are the rankings? Can I see your rubric?
I don't want to see anything that boy has to offer.
True.
Yeah.
Good point. And
Puck is all like, I need to be popular. He looks and he sees Mercedes, who's a cheerleader, singing with the other cheerleaders. And it is kind of funny that he can't remember her name because he's awful. Right. But he's like, oh, I need to date Black Girl from Glee Club. Like, it's coming. And it's one of those ways in which the show kind of acknowledges their tokenism, but doesn't change it. They just kind of, tip their hat to it.
He also has a really good line when the nerds, throw him in the dumpster, and he's like, basically he says, I'm human garbage. I was like, finally someone's speaking some truth.
You are recognizing yourself.
Right. And the funny thing is, he now thinks he's human garbage without a mohawk, and I was like, oh honey, no. You were human garbage the second you came out of your mother's womb.
Oh, that's a little harsh.
That's how
We're pro-children, Hannah.
The podcast is pro-children. No, you're right. That's probably really harsh. He probably when he got to middle school, he started turning into a little shit.
Maybe when Ryan Murphy created him from his pen and paper.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. He is... I don't think we've talked about this much on the podcast, but the actor who plays him, Mark Saling, was convicted of child pornography. And so whenever the show wants me to see Puck as a romantic or sexually desirable figure.
Or a good person.
It's unfair because the show didn't know that. It wasn't, but all I can think of is that. And
yeah,
it's just so wrong. And
it's hard thing to deal with because we're obviously watching this through a lot of different filters because hot brag, we went to school for screenwriting, that's where we met, so we're looking at it through that lens too, but this literal breaking news sort of lens, okay, where are these actors now, is also it's making it very tough. It's definitely coloring my perspective of Puck, for sure.
Yeah.
which isn't fair for the show.
I don't feel like I have a problem with that, not because I agree with what he did or anything
Of
like
course,
that. That's
yeah.
terrible. No. I just have a problem remembering that characters are real human actors.
Yeah.
Which is always, like, every time you guys mention an actor's name, I'm like, I don't understand. Tell me who the character is.
Who is Groff Sauce?
And we're like, Groff Sauce. I missed him. But yeah, no, like it does it like that's a bias. I guess it's a bias that I can definitely admit to, that like when we decided we were going to start watching the show and doing this podcast, I was like, that's going to be really, really hard for me to look at him in the face.
Yeah. Puck is trying to date Mercedes, and he hits on her, and it's all like gross, and he's like, you can like help build my rep, and she's just like you're top 40 and I'm rhythm and blues, like we're not compatible.
Yeah, he like strokes her arm, and I literally got chills. Like, regardless of what we just talked about, I was like, that was just uncalled for.
Yeah. He was very aggressive at her locker too. I just wanted to punch him in the face.
I think it also adds
having it. She was like, I was like, yes, Mercedes, you are better than him.
She is.
In all ways.
Mercedes is like also just a very genuinely like good person in a show of people that are very often not good people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's sassy sometimes. Like, that's like her big flaw, but like she like cares about Kurt.
Is being sassy really a flaw?
No. She's like, she has a good relationship with Quinn, like, and Tina. Like, yeah, it's just like Mercedes is great. She like really helped like with Quinn, and like when Puck was like, I'm the father, and Mercedes was like, I don't care, like I'm gonna support what Quinn wants. Like, Mercedes is great and we should appreciate her, and I wish the show gave her more storylines other than this.
Mm-hmm.
But she slays it, and so she is not interested, and then it is time for their Glee Club assignment, which is to give a song that describes themselves. Which most of the kids, I wonder if it was an intentional choice or not, but most of the kids' songs to describe themselves are actually in relation to like romantic interest.
Yeah. I was really confused about the assignment, because like when the first person, was it Finn who sang for? No, Rachel tried to sing for
Rachel.
Right?
Rachel tried.
When they like started doing their songs, I was like, I'm so confused. What was the assignment again? And it's like speaking from their heart or something like that. I was like, shoo, that's really vague. I hate you.
Well, it was dumb because the way that he said the assignment, which is, I think, literally what Cullen said, which is, what did you say?
Like a song that describes you.
A song is...
Yeah. To find your voice.
Yeah.
And I feel like none of them actually completed the assignment, because all of those songs are literally just in the moment and don't relate to the rest of their personality, just what they're going through in this episode.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of mentioned that a little bit later, like when I started realizing, like, I don't really understand what the assignment was, because like these are kids who are like going through like whatever kid problems they have in high school and whatnot. So they're going to sing about something that they're struggling with right now, and they're going to think that is about them right now. So like, I don't know, it kind of seemed like a weirdly heavy assignment for like children who have very little perspective. And it's just, yeah, it was really confusing.
It could have been, you could have just taken that, if the episode was more about the assignment, that could just in and of itself be a really interesting episode of television.
I also think they worked backwards from being like, okay, Rachel has to get sick, so we want to do an episode about like someone losing their voice. Okay, we have to have that line, find your voice.
Find your voice.
And that's where they worked from. The three men who worked on this show.
Three men. Yeah, so Puck decides to sing the lady is a tramp because he's trying to connect with being a black Jew to like hit on Mercedes because he's like the blacks and the Jews have always got along.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
just now remember that, and now I'm connecting it to something. Okay.
yeah, and so he sings. It's a good number.
It's very entertaining. I quite enjoyed it. And I thought to myself, if he was like this character the entire time, I would be pretty okay with that.
That's a good way to look at it. Because, I agree. I agree with that. Hannah doesn't, and I'm excited to hear about it.
I literally was like, he's butchering this song. And then when Mercedes started singing, I was like, thank you for saving the song. I did not like his version of the song. It kind of, he still had that like Puck sort of like, he does like the rock sort of thing. And I didn't like his version of the song. But when Mercedes stepped up, it was amazing.
I don't think that I have ever heard the full version of the original song. Okay. So that might have been a reason that I was like pretty fine with it.
That's valid. I also thought it was interesting that he did something totally different. I thought that was actually really interesting. It was actually kind of I didn't like his hat, obviously, but there was definitely a different energy that he was giving off. Like he actually looked like he was having fun, which I don't think anything Puck ever does.
He was dancing pretty well too.
Yeah, no, I actually like the dancing for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. And you can sort of see why Mercedes was charmed. Sort of.
There was also a lot of face journeys in the audience. Yeah. There was Quinn, there was Mercedes, there was Santana. A lot of face journeys. Definitely had to make note of that. He also says the word brothers, and then also says, last week I joined a black church, and I was like, Puck, please stop. So yeah.
It was all very awkward.
Yeah, he's trying really hard, and not in like a good way.
Yeah, if it had just been the song, like that's like a nice way to like.
Yeah, if he was like, you don't think I'm rhythm and blues, I'm gonna do this song, and I'd be like, cool.
And I learned about this singer, and he's actually really cool.
Yeah, exactly. If it was like, if Puck had actually learned something interesting, but no, it was all these lines about. I mean, I guess it also does play up the thing of like this whole trying to date her is very vapid anyhow. So like, I guess it's on brand, but I guess I'm too idealistic.
Oh, sweet Hannah.
Oh, precious Hannah. Precious Heather.
Precious Heather. Heather Morris.
No one, maybe 4 people who will ever listen to this podcast will understand that joke. 3 of them are doing the podcast right now.
Didn't we explain this joke?
I think we did,
point?
yeah.
Did we?
I think we did.
I think... So I forget...
Everyone who was paying attention.
I forget everything that we ever talk about pretty much as soon as the episode ends. It's the only way I can move on with the podcast.
Yeah. So Mercedes is all kind of like glowing because she's all like, ooh, Puck likes me. And then she turns to see Quinn and she's like, oh, like, sorry about me and Puck. And Quinn's like, no, like, I want you to be happy. Like, I'm not into him. She states that she's living with him. She's like,
which is answering the question that we had like how many episodes ago?
I think it was last week.
Yeah.
So and
I think more.
It was right after she
sectionals.
Okay, so it must have been like many episodes because I know we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I remember literally I had a note about it. But like, yeah, I feel like that's like the first. I feel like that's got to be the first time they actually say something about it.
Yeah.
Because what did she say that like his mom won't let me do something? I can't remember.
Eat bacon.
Oh, eat bacon.
Because they're Jewish.
Yes.
And Quinn is used to living with her mother who cured her own meats.
Oh my god.
I like made a note about that fact and I just remember it. Yeah, so Quinn is really sweet and is all like I want you to be happy, but be careful. And she's like, oh, I know what he's like. I'll guard my heart. And Quinn should have been like, but like he's also a rapist. But the show doesn't see it that way, so okay.
Yeah, like guard your drinks.
She's like, oh, I'm worried about a woman, of course. I'm worried about Santana, who had sort of like been not into Puck because he shaved his mohawk and was whining. But she's like, oh, she'll be angry with you. And they do this thing where they like are walking down the hallway and they're talking to each other on their cell phones.
Which is the beginning of the next number.
That boy is mine.
Honestly, that was a fucking banger.
They have such good
really
voices.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, they have such good voices.
Good chemistry.
Yeah.
I believed that they were about to get into like a fight.
Yes.
I love when Santana was like faking, like, yeah, no, it's fine. And then she like lunges at Mercedes. I was like, that is the Santana I know and love.
Yeah, so they perform that and they start fighting and Shu breaks them up and is like, that's not what we're about here.
Which is funny because they're constantly fighting in the choir room and everywhere else. I was also just like really confused. Like, obviously there was, I think, a number before that, but like that sort of inauthenticity of the assignment, like everyone doing the assignment like we're talking about. I was like, why isn't Shu stepping in like before? I was like, is he actually being a good teacher by letting them express what's going on with them right now? Or should he be like, I don't think we should let this tension come out. I don't know. I felt very complicated about how he was just letting people sing these very strange numbers and expressing these. I don't know. It was very weird.
Will, I think, needs to draw more lines, as always.
Some boundaries.
With the kids, to make it a safer space.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Because, like, I agree with what he wants to do, but I just feel like he lets the kids just do things, and I'm like, that's not appropriate, especially in a school setting.
Oh, yeah, and, like, he lets Rachel do whatever she fucking wants, which we'll talk about in a minute. Rachel.
Yeah, Mercedes sees that Puck has his mojo back because he's popular now that he's dating Mercedes, who's now a popular kid in school. And at first she's all like, this is great, because, like, she's like, I like those, like, coffee drinks or frozen coffee drinks. Then he, like, yells at the nerds to, like, get her a coffee drink, like, give me your lunch money, get her a coffee drink, don't look me in the eyes. And then he has all the nerds who threw him in the dumpster lined up and throwing them in the dumpster. And Mercedes is like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is what popular kids do. Like, this is a system. And Mercedes is like, I feel like you don't feel good about yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like, I don't want to be part of this. Like, I like the version of you I see in Glee Club. I don't like this version of you. I think this version doesn't like himself very much. Mm-hmm. I'm like, go off, Mercedes.
Yeah, he's kind of just like, he says like, this is how the system works. Like, this is like the natural order. And obviously, like, with Mercedes being in both Glee Club and being in the Cheerios, and like with him being a football player and in the Glee Club, like, obviously she's not going to subscribe to that, and she's not going to let him do that either, which I think is really great.
Yeah, I like that she doesn't even, for her, popularity isn't even worth, like, not being kind to other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why she's great. And she decides to then quit the Cheerios, and Sue's like, no one quits the Cheerios, and Mercedes is like, well, I am, because she wants to be, like, more authentic, and she doesn't care about that popularity stuff, which, it was a fine choice. I do think that, like, it's not being a cheerleader that's part of the problem. It's, like, people's bad behavior, and Mercedes seemed willing to call people out on it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I feel like she doesn't need to quit the Cheerios to make her point.
She should have stayed in the Cheerios and continued to make her point, being like, I am going to change the social order. I'm not going to act like that as a person in this position of quote-unquote power. Like, that would have been more successful in terms of being, like, realistic.
I was actually like pretty disappointed that she quit the Cheerios because she looked like she was having a lot of fun in the Cheerios.
Mhm.
She
Yeah.
learned a lot of things in the Cheerios. She was teaching other people things in the Cheerios.
You got to have
Like,
solos.
yeah. Why? I don't think it makes any sense for her to quit. And I actually interpreted that scene a little bit differently.
Okay.
I thought that she quit to see if Puck would stay with her after she was not a Cheerio.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
But then doesn't she end up dumping him anyway?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
Wait, which happens first? Her quitting or her dumping him?
Remember?
I don't either. But no, that's a good read.
I think her quitting happens first.
Yeah, and then because she's talking to him in her regular clothes.
Oh yeah, he's like, why aren't you in your uniform, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah, and Mercedes is like, I can slay any music number I want, and I could sing power anthems with Santana, so why waste my time doing duets with you? She doesn't say that, but she could have.
But does she like full out dump him? Or is she more like, hey, this is the choice I'm making. You can stay or you can leave, sort of thing.
I don't think she says, like, we're breaking up. I think it's, like, more of an implied breakup.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like the more I think about it, like I agree, like I'm actually kind of disappointed that Mercedes quits Cheerios because also like Sue had that big Mariah Carey number plan where she was gonna have 10 full minutes of vocal runs and I was here for it. But also like yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like it feels like the writer's hands in the show too much there. Like it doesn't really feel like an actual character choice.
Yeah.
Which is maybe I think why I placed my own internal like construct of what was happening.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make any sense
like,
to me.
I have to put some logic on this.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the muck plot. Next, do we want to talk about our boy Kurt?
Sure.
Yeah. So Kurt, we pick back up where we left off with that plot, where Kurt is jealous of the amount of time his dad is spending with Finn, because they're going to a football game. Because he's like, oh, I'm gonna sing Whitney Houston when he gets the assignment.
Was it a football game?
I thought it was a baseball game.
I thought it was a baseball game
Wait,
too.
what team did you say? The Cleveland?
No, Cincinnati, right?
Cincinnati.
The Reds.
The
right?
Reds? Are they a baseball team?
I don't know.
I honestly have no idea, but I thought like he was talking about the stirrup pants? Is that what it was?
Yes, stirrup pants. It would have to be a baseball game because they're in the spring already because they were doing basketball season.
All right,
Yeah.
so baseball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like,
It
there's
was
no
a
reason.
sports thing. Who cares?
Things Cullen doesn't care about. Sports, Ohio teams.
Wow. Ouch. Anyway.
Because he's like, oh, did you ever think that's like I'd want to go? He's like, every time I watch baseball, you just talk about how the stirrup pants, and he's like, yeah, there's no excuse this should ever be worn.
And I'm like, I don't know, haven't you seen Nick Jonas in baseball pants? Just saying. He did right after he did Smash, I think, was when like him being in baseball pants happened. I remember that very clearly.
Yeah, Gleeboot Kurt would definitely remember that when we reboot it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Kurt's upset that his dad's going off to like have fun with Finn, and he's like, I want to bond with my dad, so I'm gonna like start singing John Mellencamp and dress in like
flannel and hats
and vests. And be like, oh, actually, I'm kind of straight. And he sings, he's talking about Pink Houses by John Mellencamp, and he's like, yeah, it's strange for him to think about such a bold decorating choice.
Bold exterior design, I think it was. And I
Yeah.
literally
Yes.
wrote, "Oh my god, I'm dead."
It was
And he's
funny.
like, "That's not what it's about. It's about this." And Kurt's just like sticking with his guns. He's like, "Oh well, you know,
You know,
two
Yeah.
different interpretations of the same song. No
the
big
same
deal.
time.
Art is subjective."
Yeah, he's like, because his dad is like, oh, it's about the American dream and tough times. And so Kurt sings Pink Houses in like a deeper voice, which is kind of funny to watch.
It was uncomfy.
It was really hard. I was just like, wow, this is awful.
Yeah.
I think it was the only song that I didn't like, but I wasn't supposed to like it, so it came off well. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like it had the effect it was probably intentioned to.
yes.
Didn't lessen the impact though. It was still very hard to watch.
Everyone looked very uncomfortable except for Britney Spears.
Yes, she was into it.
Yeah, she was into it.
So
and then
into it.
Afterwards, Will is all like, Kurt, like, I don't think that was your voice. Like, are you, like, what's going on? And I'm like, first off, how dare you?
Right, that's what I thought too. I was like, wow.
Which is basically what Kurt says, doesn't he? He's like, I can be more than one person.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, but I wish Glee did this more because I often feel like Glee has this very strict narrative of what a gay man is.
What? Glee does?
Glee, yeah, and they're like a gay man is basically a girl but a boy, and I'm like, Kurt could like John Mellencamp and Whitney Houston, and whatever he wants, independent of his sexuality.
Yeah,
like it's not liking feather boas or whatever, you know, like
as much as Glee wants to also be like everyone can be whoever they want to be at any time, they're still putting these characters into boxes,
and I resent that.
They continue to do that, so it's like, yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
Because as a guy who is into like musicals and who is very like emotionally expressive and stuff, like people would just be like, "Oh, you're gay," and it was using the Glee model. Like, so that's why when I was actually in high school, Glee I really did
invented limitations on personality based on like perceived sexuality.
But like in high school, I like resented Glee for it, and so I did. That's why I didn't really watch it till college.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why this was one of those things where I was like,
yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like as soon as someone makes a declaration about themselves, like when Kurt was always sort of effeminate, but when he like actually made the like definitive like I'm gay in the show, then immediately he was just solidified as like that. And so like it's hard for him to get out of that.
Yeah, and I think they get better at that as the show goes on with some other characters. But yes, that bothered me. But then Brittany is like, oh, like I've made out with every guy at this school except for you because I thought you were capital G gay, but like that was kind of hot. Like, do you want to go out? And he's like,
sure,
yeah. And they have this great creepy and uncomfortable shot where he like watches her walk away, and I'm like, the
camera pans down, like literally goes up. And I was like, Kurt would not look at her butt. Why are we panning down?
Because the director wanted to.
Exactly. Like it's literally, I don't like that choice is so bizarre to me. Because like if anything, the camera would pan to like Finn or something, or would just like would stay on Kurt's face, like that was just very gross, and I hated it.
Afterwards, Kurt is making out with Brittany in his basement to like this like French music.
Very, very weird.
And
he's still wearing the hat and the vest.
Yeah.
Yes.
The whole getup, like nothing has come off. No layers. All layers are on.
He's making out as the good Lord intended.
So many layers.
So many layers.
So many
And
barriers to physical contact. No chance of getting pregnant ever.
and she keeps like trying to put her hand on his thigh, and he's like moving it up, and then she's kissing him, and he's like, "What do boys' lips taste like?" And she was like, "Mostly like dip or burgers. Sometimes my armpits. Kissing my armpits is a real big turn on for me."
I wrote that down. I was like, Brittany just keeps getting better with age.
Yeah, such a complex, like,
She's
confident
so
character.
complex, actually. Like the more I think about it, but like the way she is slowly developed, I didn't ever remember her being that interesting in the first season. But I'm like, wow, like Brittany is really coming into her own as a character. Like I love her so much.
Brittany's amazing, and then his dad walks down because Kurt left a sign like, "Do not interrupt. I'm making out with a girl."
I literally was like, Kurt fucking would make that exact door hang. It's like, that is on brand.
And he's like, "Yeah, we were just having sexual relations," and Bert's, he does that, and Bert's all like, "I just thought this was the start of one of your murder mysteries."
And I was like, again, on brand. So on brand.
That, I just love that line because that implies that Kurt used to do that all the time growing up, and it's just cute to imagine.
And the fact that like
I loved it.
Bert doesn't even like flinch at that. He was just like very matter of fact. He's like, I thought it was one of your murder mystery parties.
And he immediately went down.
Yes, he was like, I'm gonna go see what the party's about. Like,
yes.
And then he literally finds his son making out with a girl, and it's so good.
And he's just like, maybe we have more in common than we thought. And Bert's just like, whoever you want to be, whoever you are, just let me know, and I'll be there. Just let me know when you figure it out. Because he's
unlike Mr. Shu, who just fucking plants that kid in a box. Bert's like, you know what? You're working some shit out. I respect that. Let me know when you figure it out.
And he walks away and is like, use protection.
And he's like, Brittany, I got my best. I'm all set.
Brittany has the lovely but very concerning line where she's like, does he mean like a burglar alarm?
Oh, like a fire alarm, right? And,
yeah.
And Kurt's face is just like, oh no.
Then he's doing all this, and then he sees that his dad is like, oh, in the middle of the school day, I'm confused what the timeline is, why his dad is at the school. But he's like, yeah, Finn, like, he said he scored a touchdown, which is confusing because football season is over, right?
No, that's not what he said at all.
What did he say?
Did you just phase this out? He caught a foul ball.
Okay. Yes, I just know Finn does football, so I immediately assumed that was a football thing, but you are correct.
He caught a foul ball
at the game that they went to, right?
Yes, yeah. There was he said what in whatever inning, in the fourth inning or something.
And that means that he's going to take him out for hoagies.
So wait.
Yeah, the prize is
for a second
hoagies.
Time?
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed
I think that. It's...
Yeah.
So I think he was there at the end of the school day.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, it confuses me. I'm like, I feel like it should be shot outside the school because they wouldn't let an adult.
Oh, wait. Was this
inside
after his music number? His big music number at the end?
Right before his
It's
big
before.
Music.
Oh, was it before?
Yeah.
Doesn't his dad confront him after the music number too?
Yes.
Okay, so he's there for three times. Wow. I only remember the one time he was there to pick up Finn. And then after the music number. Wow. Totally. I was so zen, I was meditating.
Because he was walking down the hall holding Brittany's hand, and she's like, your hands are so soft.
Okay.
They remind me of a baby's. Now I know what it's like to date a baby.
I remember that now.
Which is what every guy dreams of their girlfriend saying.
Good to know. I will remember that.
Yeah.
Dating
Just
advice
keep
from
that in your
Glee
pocket.
and Gleeboot.
Yeah, and then he's basically like, Kurt realizes that like his dad still wants to do like fun sports stuff with Finn and like eat hoagies, and he's all like, he sings Rose's turn from Gypsy, but it's Kurt's turn. He's like, all that work and what did it get me? Like, it's all for you. And he starts throwing in characters' names like Rachel Berry and his dad, and he sings Everything's Coming Up Kurt, and like this big Kurt lights, and he's back in his traditional garb, and he sings the whole song, and then his dad's there. His dad's like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. And he's like, I don't know anything about musicals, but like, that did not seem like the song of someone who was fine. And he's all like, it hurts me that you bond with Finn. And he's like, I'm still trying to learn how to deal with this gay stuff. And he's like, deal with? And he's like, you know what? Let's go spend time together right now. Like, they have a bit of an argument. And his dad's like, I'm just doing my best. And I love you. And I want to spend time with you. Is there any big beat I missed in that?
No, not really. Although I feel like we kind of glossed over the fact that Kurt sings Roses because he did all of this work trying to be straight. Yeah. And it didn't make a difference the way that his dad wanted to spend time with Finn instead of spending time with him. Yeah.
Because he's like, don't you think I held you as a baby and I dreamed about talking about like sports and girls with you? And he's all like, oh, I'm sorry, this is so hard for you.
Yeah.
And like,
I think
it's a very real conversation.
Because like, Bert's not gonna be like, oh, it's my fault. He literally is like, you're victimizing yourself based on your hurt, like, which is totally valid that you're hurting, but like basically being like, this is really a you thing that you have to like come to terms with, because like Bert's not gonna change himself and he's not asking Kurt to change himself. So like, yeah, it's very realistic, and I think it's also like this storyline is also like weirdly objective, even like, I mean, even with like the weird things that were happening the last time we saw it, like it was still like pretty objective with the way Bert was handling it. He's like, I can't change me. I'm not going to try to change you. We just have to work together to build a relationship in the way we know how. And I think that's realistic, which is very strange for Glee to do. Oh, yeah. Also, real quick, so it made me think I totally forgot that what the song that Kurt did was from Gypsy, right? And then it made me think of Bernadette Peters, which then made me think of Smash, which she sang that song in Smash. So it all comes full circle.
One of the few songs that they both covered, I think that and Breakaway by our queen, Kelly Clarkson.
I bet we could find other combinations, unfortunately. Yeah. But for another time. I literally had to look that up. I was like, I'm pretty sure they also did that on Smash. And to my chagrin, they did.
Yeah. We could have 1001 Nights be Gleeboot.
I'm dying inside. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that is the Kurt plot, and now
kind of it. Like there's
yeah, it was like a good B or C plot.
Yeah, these are very simple plot lines. Very, very simple.
Yeah, about the Glee kids, which we like.
There is always elegance in simplicity.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Which,
thanks.
Speaking of beauty, I will say there were definitely some shots in this episode where I'm like, Lea Michele is very attractive.
Was it when she was taking off her clothes behind that curtain?
No, but I want to talk about that at some point.
Oh, Lord. I mean, we're almost to that plot point. So.
Yeah. So Rachel points out to Mr. Shu, she
He
narks.
leads this lesson. He's like, here's the lesson. She's like, okay, perfect.
She's like, all the team is just relying on me to sing, and she has Lauren Zizes from the AV club like bug the choir room, and she points out that they're just like mouthing and letting her sing.
I fucking loved Rachel being a spy like that. Also, I was like, wow, that brings me back to my own choir days when I would also sometimes fake warm-ups because I didn't feel like singing. And then I was like, wait a second, warm-ups are so important and Rachel knows this. So there was a lot of flashbacks, a lot of pain, a lot of memories, a lot of love happening
so
in that literal
strange.
45-second segment of the show.
Yeah. It's funny you were talking about your choir days because I immediately had flashbacks to my choir days and where I was like, this is so unrealistic. If a whole half of the Glee club was not singing,
Yeah.
Schuster should have known.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like, come on. There's only 12 of them or something.
Exactly. And if 6 of them aren't singing, like you can tell. Like that was the thing, is like we got called out all the time. He's like,
Yeah.
I only hear 10 voices. There's 13 of you or something like that. Like he would literally, like our choir teacher would be able to do that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like if there's that many people not singing, especially Finn, who has a very distinct voice, he does not blend very well, poor boy. Who else? Santana
they all
and
have
Finn.
really distinct voices.
Yeah, so like if you cannot hear them singing during warm-ups, like and warm-ups are so important. So important.
You hear that, choir kids?
You hear that? Do your warm-ups, kids. But no, like absolutely, like I thought that was super unrealistic too. That like if there's that many people, like why are you having your team captain having to call it out? Like you suck as a teacher, Shu.
Yep.
Yes. And so when he gives them the assignment to find their voice, because Finn's all like, well, you gave all the leads to Jesse and my confidence is shattered. And I'm like, I resent how fragile Ryan Murphy thinks men are.
Over it.
But also, I do think that's a totally valid thing for Glee to bring up because, like, Rachel and Finn are always the go-to, and Shu very, very infrequently lets other people do things.
Yeah.
And, like, that's why, like, Kurt and Mercedes joined the cheers to begin with. So, like, it was valid,
I feel like
but it was also, like, boo-hoo, shut up, Finn.
No, well, like, I think it's valid, but I think the way he goes about expressing that insecurity, which is not singing, is, I don't know, uncharacteristic.
And it's also like, it also to me reads that he's also still butthurt, I'm gonna say, about Rachel and Jesse being together.
Which he is.
Obviously. So like, yeah, it's kind of just like just completely drenched in layers that are kind of not invalid, but like are just kind of very like, just fucking do your warm-ups and just sing, you know?
Yeah. Especially because Finn has the personality of someone who always tries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's feeling very lethargic. Is he depressed? Is he okay? Finn's okay, right?
Having your girlfriend be pregnant thinking you're going to be a father and then found out she cheated on you and has been lying to you, and then the other girl you're dating is dating someone else. I wonder if that could make someone depressed.
No, and I mean it was like his best friend. I don't think so. I think nah. Mm-mm.
This is a quick sidebar back into the Kurt plot because Bert says his mom, like Carol, Finn's mom, thinks it will be good for Finn to have this male figure in his life. Which I do like that Bert wanting to spend time with Finn isn't just because like he's a man's man, but because like the woman he's dating wants him to.
Yeah.
And thinks it's like a good thing. So I
like that he wants to do something good for Carol. Like he wants to make her happy. And if that,
Yeah.
like, not that, like, it would be hard to bond with Finn, but, like, to go out of his way to really try to bond with Finn, absolutely. Totally valid.
Yeah.
Bert is just such a good guy.
Bert's a gem.
And I agree with Carol, because if she was the main adult male influence in my son's life, I'd be like, here's another one. Yeah. So, but back into the Rachel Finn plot. And then, so then Rachel is like, I'm going to sing The Climb.
Literally, when she said, I'm going to sing The Climb, I was like, I don't remember that being on a soundtrack. And I was like, oh, that's why.
Because she's been working so hard, she lost her voice. And she's just singing badly. And it's funny because everyone is cringing except Brittany, who's like into it.
Yeah.
Brittany has no awareness of what's good or bad, and that's so pure.
She's so supportive. What a good friend. And Will's like, I think you lost your voice. And Rachel like spirals. She's like walking around like eating Cheerios with like tissues everywhere. And she's like, I have laryngitis and they might want me to remove my tonsils. And
But she doesn't get laryngitis.
We're skipping.
Are we? Is the tinker?
You skipped the doctor.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
The doctor. We skipped
a lot to unpack in the doctor
let's
scene.
go back and unpack, and then we can talk about.
There was a joke I wanted to get to. That's why I'm so excited about it.
Hold yourself
The
back.
comedy can wait, Cullen. We've got a whole podcast to do it.
So they're at the doctor, not with her father, either of her fathers.
Either of her fathers. Also,
she's there with Finn.
But
Oh my God!
Why is he there? Like, it's a literal doctor. Like, I can understand if he was like, yeah, like, I'll take you. He's not
even
in the waiting room.
Yeah, like not technically allowed to be back there.
Also, why?
Unless she wants him back there.
Why is she undressing?
I have no idea. Nobody needs to undress for that.
You don't undress for that unless she also got a pap smear. Did she get a pap smear? Do we know this? Was Finn there for that too?
Oh my God.
Like, there's so many confusing like, oh, I'm fine. Wow, I'm way more passionate about this episode than I thought.
I think I'm just passionate about this one scene.
Yeah,
because it makes no sense.
This one sequence, I was just very confused and
I'm just like
uncomfortable by.
Why is Finn there? Like, he would take a friend to the doctors, if he would take Rachel, but the fact that he's in there,
yeah, he would.
It was weird.
Like,
it was real weird.
The waiting room. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sure. But everything else transpires. Please continue.
And the doctor is like, "You'll never sing again," and then
which is the classic bedside manner joke.
This doctor, who's also on the show The Magicians, if anyone watches that.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
He is like the advisor or the vizier in the magical kingdom in The Magician.
He's the Jafar.
Not the Jafar,
because I only know Vizier from watching Aladdin on Disney Plus the other day. Support your indie streaming services, guys.
What season?
Yeah.
I think season 2.
Okay, I don't know if I've seen season 2.
Spoiler alert. That guy's in it.
Yeah. So he's like, no, you may have to get your tonsils removed. You have tonsillitis. Like, and she's like, will that affect my voice? And he's like, well, I don't really care. And so he's like, think about it, and leaves. And then Finn is all like, yeah, I'm here and not your boyfriend, Jesse. And I'm like, also, and I'm still reeling from the fact that Finn's there. Yeah, so I'm like
he's so proud that he's there. Like, he probably forced himself into the room.
He like broke it.
The just discomfort she has with him being there. It's just,
I wouldn't even take my boyfriend to the doctor.
Yeah, no, like,
it's weird.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
Unless we were like engaged to be married, I'm not gonna let you come into the doctor. Like, no.
Yeah.
Stay in the waiting room. Stay in the car.
I don't even know. Like, I could be fully married and still not let my husband come to the doctor with
unless my mom is like, would be like not unable to drive herself or like need another person there. I feel like my parents go to the doctor separately,
Right, like,
especially
yeah.
for
make her
something like a
incontinent.
cold.
Like, it's not like
Exactly.
Finn's gonna be her, like, like, her person who signs all her documents for her. Like, he literally was probably just her ride and, like, moral support, which is fine. But, like, no, you're, like, stay in your fucking lane, Finn.
Yeah, because he was all like, I'm there, and Jesse's not, and she's like, Jesse is in San Diego with vocal adrenaline friends on spring break, and I'm like, I'm wondering if they're going to San Diego Zoo.
I'm also
Maybe
really
he'll see some
confused, like,
reindeer.
why aren't they on, like, the same spring break?
Spring break.
Like,
Oh yeah, because they're both public schools.
yeah, they're like in the same area. It's not like they're on different sides of the state. Like, sometimes, like I
Do
might
public
have
schools always have the same?
well, not always, but it's just like typically in, like,
If they're
the
in the-
same general area, everyone would kind of have the same spring break time.
Interesting.
I don't know. It was
Yeah.
just that was kind of strange to me. I'm not.
The whole scene was just weird.
They just didn't want to pay for Jonathan Groff,
Yes.
so they made a reason
Yes.
for Jesse to not be there.
Honestly, I think that's accurate. Like, he's like, this is my limit. This is how much this is how much we can pay you. He's like, cool. This is how many episodes you get me for, so that I make this much money per episode.
Yeah, no, that's probably what happened. Yeah. And so then she's like, I still love Jesse, and yes, we haven't talked since the Run Joey Run thing, but I still want to be with him, and you need to respect that. And I'm like, correct.
Valid.
And then she's like, I'm gonna go change
behind this curtain with a spotlight on my body so that it shows all of my curves while I undress in my shadow.
Oh my
God.
God.
I'm confused because this is how I undress, is when as I take my clothes off, I stroke myself, just in case anyone's watching, just, you know,
listen,
for dramatic effect.
Sometimes you're like feeling yourself and you're like, yeah, I look great. But the doctor's office is not one of those places.
Wait, you don't do this at the doctor?
Yeah, no, I got my pap smear a couple weeks ago and I was like, oh yeah, I look great in this paper dress.
Chrissy Teigen is shaking. Who's the model now?
So erotic. Yeah, no. Like, that's one of the many fucking bonkers things that happened. Singing. Honestly,
Jesse's Girl.
Banger.
It's a great cover. That song was designed for a show
They
like
worked
Glee.
backwards.
Oh my gosh.
They worked backwards from that song, which is
Jesse
fine.
was named Jesse 100% for this song.
Oh, yes,
they did it really well. Like, there are
and
other
I'd do it
things
again.
that, like, yeah, in the Gleeboot, it's gonna happen again. They're doing Jesse's Girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
The party that I went to was an 80s party.
I saw that.
And
super cute, by the way.
Aw, thank you. They asked us to all put in our favorite 80s songs, and that was my choice.
And you're like, let's do Total Eclipse of the Heart, and you put in Alone.
Oh my god! No, Jesse's Girl is so much better than either of those.
Ooh.
I like a lot of 80s songs, though.
No.
The 80s has good music.
It does.
Yeah. So so he starts singing Jesse's Girl, which, yeah, it was a great song. It was a banger. But then they cut to the choir room where he's singing it, and it's so obviously directed at Rachel, and he's like singing aggressively at her.
This is where I was like, Shu needs to set boundaries. But then I was also like, well, a few episodes ago, he was singing like scantily clad and showing body and like touching the Cheerios student. So I'm like, maybe this is pretty realistic for Shu.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things where I'm like, Finn is being creepy, but he's like a teenage boy. So I'm like, what you need is for people to tell him that's not okay, and he's someone who would actually learn from that, you know?
And
like,
yet Shu is like, okay then.
Yeah, I'm like, Shu has an opportunity to help these kids learn, and like he's only doing them a disservice.
Again.
Instead of helping them learn, his response is...
Can I point you to the Madonna episode? Just saying.
Yeah. He literally responds, though, with, that was great! We need everyone to do songs like this.
So into that song. Like, while Finn's singing, you can see Shu in the background like, yeah, that's great. And I'm like, Shu, you're literally the worst fucking teacher ever. Like, what's the difference between Finn aggressively singing Jesse's Girl at Rachel and Mercedes and Santana singing like That Boy Is Mine? Like, what's the difference? Like, the difference is that two people are consenting to a fight and one person is not consenting to be aggressively sung at. Like, why, Shu? What is happening?
I feel like in Gleeboot, he would sing Jesse's Girl, and it would be on people would be uncomfortable because they know it would be about Jesse, but he wouldn't sing it aggressively at her. He would just like make eye contact sometimes as he's singing.
I would have it be a private thing where like this isn't also great, but like Rachel's he's watching Rachel and Jesse like hanging out and having a good time, and he's like singing it like, I wish I could be doing that.
So instead of a diegetic song, have it be like a musical number.
Yeah, that's how I would do it too.
I feel
like that.
It puts away the like really overt creepiness and actually has a little bit of a heart to it. Like he's not being like gross about it. He's just like,
I mean, it is a little stalkerish.
Yes, but not like he would follow them around. Like if they're just like having lunch together, and he's like on the other side of like the cafeteria. I literally forgot what that word is called. It's how long it's been since I've been to school. That kind of is like the vibe I would have given this song, because there's like, it's kind of a creepy song because she's loving him with that body.
Yeah.
And stuff. But, like, Finn has like a pureness to him that like he could pull that off without it being super creepy. And also, I would want him and Jesse to actually be friends. So that line, Jesse was a friend, it would actually make sense.
I always imagine this song too because it has like that rock element that like it would be. It's a good workout song. Like you can like time like curls and push-ups to it. So I could imagine like a workout like.
I know what I'm doing tomorrow morning. Listening to the Glee version of Jesse's Girl while I work out.
It would never be a good workout song for me because I would just sing it.
Because he's looking in the mirror. He sings, I've been looking in the mirror all the time wondering what you don't see in me. So I could see him doing like a workout musical number singing this song.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. With like the ropes and stuff, just to make it like fun visually. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So that is that's the Jesse's Girl in the hospital sequence.
Yeah, that was.
It's stuck in my head now.
It's a good song to have stuck in your head.
It is.
All the time.
Wonder what she don't see in me.
I've been funny, I've been cool with the lines.
Ain't that the way it's
supposed to be?
All right. Lovely.
Oh my gosh, let's start acapellas.
No!
We are not fellas. We can't do it.
I couldn't think of another name quick enough.
You're so traumatized by that episode. It's the first thing that comes up when you think acapella.
Yes. I was like, Anna Kendrick, acapellas. That's my acapella timeline.
What were they called? The Bellas.
The Barton Bellas, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So then Finn is all like, because Rachel is like eating Cheerios and like wearing long sweaters and like feeling sorry for herself.
She has an amazing line.
Yes, this was the line I wanted to get to. I'm like Tinkerbell Finn. I need applause to live.
I died. I was like, that is a legit great line, just in general, but also such a Rachel line.
There were some really funny in-character lines this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Finn's like, I'm sorry, I'm sick of you feeling so sorry for yourself. Let's go meet my friend. And so he takes her to his friend's place. What is this guy's name? I'm forgetting it.
Oh, yikes. I don't think I wrote it down. Hold on, I'll look it up. That way we can show respect.
So they go to his friend from football camp's house, and he's lying there, and he's like they imply that Finn visits him regularly. What's his name? You just guessed. Okay,
No,
we'll
I
keep going.
laughed because you're like, he's just lying there, and I laughed. I'm sorry. That was terrible. I deserve to be smacked for that.
He's lying there, and Rachel's like, "Is this a joke?" And he's like, "No, I was in a football accident. He was injured, and he is basically paralyzed. So he
paralyzed from the upper chest down.
Yeah, and so he's like he's talking to Rachel like, oh, like you might have lost your voice, like it could come back, and it's really nice because he's not just like, oh, I'm at peace. He's like Sean.
Also, his last name is Weinstein, the actor's name. Interesting.
So Shawnee Boy is just like, oh, sorry. He's like, I'm angry all the time because of what I lost, and like just not being able to feel anything. And it's good that he's not just like, there's just a lot to dissect with how Glee likes to trot out people as ways for other characters to be inspired. And he's definitely an example of that, but there is some realness to him. He's not totally just, oh, I'm just like so blessed and happy. Like he's
like, I'm miserable.
Acknowledges that, yeah, like, but he finds joy, but he is miserable. And he does make some comments about like, oh, Finn, is that Rachel girl? Like she's really pretty. And when she walks into the house, Sean's mom is just like, oh, pretty. And I'm like,
weird.
I'm like, weird. I didn't notice this episode. I'm like, Rachel's very pretty, but I'm like, it's just a weird. It's just like very, not dehumanizing is a strong word, but a little bit, to just like that entire interaction. Everyone just kept being like, oh, you're pretty. Yeah, and then Finn mentions that that Sean likes to sing, and Sean's like, yeah, I'm kind of jealous that Finn, had the balls to do that and to join Glee Club. And Rachel is very moved, and as they're leaving, because it's time for physical therapy, she's like, thank you. And he's like, for what? And she's just like, thank you.
I wrote, like, thank you for letting me feel sorry for you and put my problems in perspective. And I was like,
which is the reality.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like they really gleed it up. Also, I want to make a correction for something I said earlier, kind of off topic, but I said that Bernadette Peters sang Rose's turn. She did not sing that in Smash. She sang
Everything
Coming Up Roses. Yes. I got this mixed up.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yes. Yeah, so that's iffy. But then there's this really nice scene where Rachel comes back and is like, singing was an area of interest for you, and I have my voice back, and I'd like to like give you like voice lessons once a week, which is like a real, genuine, like human connection thing to do that Glee will never revisit or acknowledge again.
Yeah.
Oh no, really?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that actor got one episode credit, so.
Man.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
I was hoping that this would be a thing. Well, not like a thing. We're back in.
I mean, like back to the like feeling pity for other people, using that to feel inspired. That's what they did with the deaf choir too.
Yeah. This was better than the deaf choir, I would say. You think it's worse?
No, I think it's better.
I'm not saying it's good, but he's definitely more of a character.
Yeah.
And not just like a
thing.
Yeah, not just like a thing to be totally there just for inspiration.
Yeah, I don't think
like angelic. And
there's no like making fun of that person's condition in any way, shape, or form, like they did with like the choir director making fun of the fact that he was deaf.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Emma wasn't in this episode, I just realized.
No, there were no adults except for Shu, but he didn't have a
Sue was
storyline.
Sue was in
there
it briefly.
Oh yeah,
to
Sue
give
was.
some like, hey, don't you remember that you're gay, Kurt?
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
because he's
to
like,
complain-
well, she said, have you even kissed a girl? Or like, how do you know? She's like, so what, you like show tunes? That doesn't mean you're gay.
You're
That just means
awful.
you're awful.
And that was like accurate.
And then she's like, he's like talking about his life, and she's like, I'm gonna keep walking now because I realized that stopping and talking to students in the hallway is a total waste of time, and I'm already checked out of this conversation.
Yeah.
It was very, very brief.
I think that moment with Sue, it's kind of strange because we talked about how like the show puts Kurt into a box via Shu and other things, but also like Sue's kind of the voice of like how a lot of people view sexuality as like, well, how do you even know if you've never tried being straight? You know, it's like there's a weird juxtaposition there. I still don't. Yeah, I don't think this season of Glee, at least in this element, is as self-aware of being like.
No.
Yeah, I still think they're putting Kurt into too many boxes. Well, one single box.
Yeah. But back to Sean and Rachel. She comes back and is like, I want to give you voice lessons, and they sing One by U2. I'm not a huge U2 fan.
I'm just gonna fucking say it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
I don't think I know.
You remember when I don't know if you guys had like iPods or iPhones at that time, but
I have had so much trouble. I can't get it off my iPod.
You know exactly what I was talking about. U2 came out with a fucking album a few years ago, and iTunes is like, we're going to give it to every iTunes person for free. And we're like, we fucking hate you, Apple. Stop it.
I'll still be listening to my music, and then suddenly it's like, what is this song? And
I'm like, U2, it's a free album they gave us to curse us.
Yeah.
Hashtag never forget.
So, never forget, never forgive. So they start singing One, and it is nice because like his voice isn't auto-tuned. It's like real and imperfect.
Yeah.
And I liked that. And then it cuts into the choir room. They're all singing One so they can sell a nice single. And it's fine.
Can we talk about their outfits?
They're in like denim shirts.
And then jeans. Right? And
denim-on-denim.
Which is exactly what I'm wearing right now.
In honor of this number.
I just thought for a music number, I was like, you couldn't do something else? Like, is that what U2 does to people? It's just like, we're just going to do denim-on-denim for a show choir practice, possibly a number we're going to put into our lineup. Like, I was just so confused. I was like, why? Why is that happening?
This is what U2 does to people. That's my new favorite line. And it ends.
Fault.
It's all Bono's fault, and it ends on One.
It ends on Sean and Rachel
with Sean and Rachel.
Yeah, it goes back to them together, and that was nice. I like that as an ending. And that was Laryngitis.
I'm confused. Because we talked about like the title, Laryngitis. And then we find out that no one in the show has laryngitis. In fact, Rachel has tonsillitis, which is very different. I would know because I've had it like 1,000 times.
And she doesn't have to have her tonsils removed. She might at some point, but she just drank a lot of herbal tea and honey and
had
stuff.
a Z-Pak.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know why it's called laryngitis. Is it like, is it an emotional, is it a personality laryngitis that people lost their voice personality-wise?
Oh, Lord.
Maybe
the antibiotic.
When they just wrote down the names of the episodes that they're planning them out, they was like, "Oh, do one where Rachel gets laryngitis," and then they like did some
And they're like,
research.
oh,
and they thought
laryngitis is
better
actually
shit.
like kind of serious. We don't want her to actually risk losing her voice. So getting her tonsils out will be fine. Tonsillitis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just full on forgot to change the episode name when they sent it
Or they're
Yeah.
like,
And nobody
everyone's like,
caught it.
tonsillitis. That we don't care about tonsillitis. Laryngitis, now that's a disease. I think they were diseases.
That's in.
It's very trendy right now. Everyone's getting it and hating it. We should call it laryngitis. Yeah, I don't. I always have problems with the titles almost consistently, and that was just one.
And that means it is Tina time.
Guess what, people? Tina does not make an appearance in this episode.
No lines.
No visual.
No, she's definitely there.
She's there.
As a reaction shot to Kurt's song.
Yeah.
She's just.
Ooh, I missed
That's
that.
it. That is literally
What, one scene?
Yep.
She was in one scene.
She was in the background a little bit, but I did make note of that for Tina Time. I was like, yeah. I was like, wow, literally nothing. We had a couple lines the past few episodes,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, just radio silence from Tina.
So, can we just talk about how we have a show that has Tina, who's like an original Glee Club member who we don't get to learn much about. We have the legend that is Mike Chang. And we have to have all these episodes about Puck's feelings.
Ugh.
Puck and Finn's feelings.
Finn is at least like the lead.
Yeah, I can understand Finn.
But
Fuck, I do not understand.
yeah.
I think it's probably because he's still Quinn's baby daddy, so like he'll probably become important in a couple episodes, right? Something like that. I don't honestly like right now we're in territory that I don't remember things.
Exciting.
Like, I literally oh, it's so exciting. Oh my god, it's like a brand new surprise every time. It's like it's an avocado thing.
I wonder what's in a wonder ball.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't think Mike Chang didn't even dance this episode. We saw Puck dance.
He clapped offbeat.
Very on brand for Mike Chang.
Yes.
Doing everything offbeat.
But with full heart.
But so much confidence. It's like, yes, I'm doing this right. Yeah, wow. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna have a lot of episodes like that. We're like, Tina time, nothing happened.
Who's Tina?
Who's Tina again?
Yeah. So Tina time, and then who was your favorite character? Who's your MVP this week?
Bert.
Bert?
Mm-hmm.
Good choice.
Yeah. Just Bert's a gem. Been saying it all episode. I'm gonna say it again. Bert is a gem. He's such a good adult character in this show.
Yeah, it was tough because like in episodes when we have like very clear like good people and then like bad people, it makes it easier. But I chose Kurt just because I thought it was really, really not cool, but very interesting that he tried something totally different to try to be like, I'm going to be more like my dad. And like, I was also shocked at how much he actually looked like the guy who plays Bert.
Yeah.
When he was wearing that getup, I was like, wow, like they
yeah,
really cast very, very well. Yeah, I'm going to go with Kurt just because like, I thought that was such an authentic thing to do, to be like, I'm going to try to be more like my dad to get him to want to bond with me, even though he ends up coming back full circle being like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to still be me.
My MVP is a little less serious. I picked Brittany.
Yay.
I thought she was really funny this episode, and she was so supportive of her friends.
Many lyrics.
So many lyrics. During the warm-ups, because they're like, why can't you why aren't you singing? And she's like, there's just so many lyrics. She just was so funny, so supportive of her friends, and was just here to have a good time.
Yeah.
Uh, who is your LVP?
I'm gonna go with the doctor.
Oh, okay.
Because he's,
character.
I don't know why he told Rachel to undress, but that was unnecessary. And that happened off camera, just in case anyone missed this.
Honestly,
It actually
though,
didn't happen.
I could also see Rachel go. This is the scene I wanted to see. Rachel freaking out, immediately having like WebMD'd it. She's like, I have cancer. So she slips down, like, give me a paper gown. And she's like, I need a full body examination. That I could see happening.
She
And
would do that.
Yes, but it
that
didn't
would've been a great
happen.
scene. Yes, that was a great
Instead,
scene.
we got the creepy doctor.
is a pervert, and so is Finn.
Yes.
So in our Gleeboot, we're gonna have Rachel
Be like,
WebMD.
yeah, she's like, I could have cancer.
Diagnose
And-
herself.
And then she's literally like, I need a, like, she's like, oh, don't worry. I already asked the nurse for an examination gown. I'm in it. I'm ready. My clothes are over there. And the doctor would be like, that's not necessary. She's like, oh, it's necessary. And then she's like, my dads are part of the ACLU here in the Toledo area. So I definitely think you should do this for me.
Yes, I like that. That's so Rachel.
My LVP is gonna be Puck, just because he's gross. I didn't like him touching Mercedes. I didn't like that he kissed her on the cheek, even though she technically consented to it. I just didn't like his vibe.
Same. He was my LVP. He's not a nice man.
He's human garbage. And I mean, hey, those were his words, not mine. Although they may have been mine a few episodes ago.
Yeah. We're not big Puck fans. Yeah, what was your favorite? Let's start with your least favorite song of the episode.
I think I'm gonna go with one, the one at the end, because I don't know. It was just kind of like the scene was supposed to be touching, and I didn't really feel that it was touching because they cut to the Glee group, the Glee club, and it just didn't. After that, I was just like, I don't like it anymore. Plus, I don't really like this song, so...
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I don't like the song that much. The cover wasn't that interesting. Yeah, it was all... Like, maybe if it had been her and Sean singing, I would be down for it, because that'd be a more different arrangement. But yeah, no, not a fan.
I'm looking at the images of that number on IMDb because I'm like, weren't they in front of like a weird background that kept changing? I could have sworn there was an image that was like two people holding hands that they were singing in front of, but maybe I imagined that.
No, they're not making that up.
Okay, but like the images that are on IMDb, there's like a forest scene. It looks like from Twilight that they're singing in front of, and I'm like, this is upsetting.
There is a nice hand-holding thing because he's like, will you hold my hand? And she's like, do you still feel that? And he's like, I remember what it feels like.
That was like, kind of go back to that was really, really heart-wrenching for me. That like it was a very weirdly authentic moment for Glee to be talking about something like that. And in a weird way, I actually enjoyed that change of pace. Yeah, I thought that was really just a very interesting moment. Like you said, the human connection.
But now, what song did you hate?
I mean, I would 100% agree with both of you.
Good segue.
You're so good at hosting the show. I would 100% agree with that, but I'm gonna have to go with Kurt singing Pink Houses, just because like him trying to sound the way Mellencamp does. It was too uncomfy for me. So it's a very strong second choice to one.
What was everyone's favorite song this week?
Jesse's Girl.
Same, Jesse's Girl.
Okay, again, another super strong second. I went with The Boy Is Mine because I used to listen to that on repeat. I fucking love Mercedes and Santana singing together, and I'm always here for it, regardless of whether or not that song is good for women.
I also loved that song.
Yeah,
like
it's
it
a
was
good cover.
really good. I just really love Jesse's Girl. I just love singing it.
Jesse's Girl is a bop, and Finn's voice worked really well with it.
It did, actually. I don't think his voice has worked so well with any other song.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that. I think I was too put off by him watching her undress that I was like, that's all I can think about now. Once I forget that happened, I'll be able to like the song again. Hit that version of the song again.
Yeah. So those are our main segments. Now, I do want to talk about some of my ideas for if we were to reboot this episode.
After already the many that we've had had
so
a
many.
lot of like good things to talk about in terms of rebooting this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think going with like a Disney vibe here because it's me. You got to do some Little Mermaid references if we're talking about someone losing their voice. So there's this song in the Broadway musical, like a quartet. They also did it as a duet in Little Mermaid Live called If Only. And it's like Ariel sings it while she doesn't have a voice. And she's like wishing that like Eric could see how she feels. And she's like, I'm trying to express it, but I can't because I don't have the words. And so I think having Rachel sing something like that would be really touching. I just think it's a really touching song. And it's about like losing your voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be great. And then Kurt, I have two options for Kurt in two very different directions. Instead of Rose's turn, he could sing Poor Unfortunate Souls in full Ursula drag makeup with tentacles. Or he could sing the song Out There from Hunchback of Notre Dame because that song could be repurposed. It's all about like being out. And so he's kind of like going back into the closet to change who he is to please his dad. And now he's like, no, this is me. And he could sing This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, which Glee would definitely cover if that happened now. Or he could sing Out There because it's like a nice ballad and it's about being who you are and being out. But it's also, and it is like a higher voiced song, but it is also a male song. So instead of like gay men are just women, he could could be some complexity in how his sexuality and how that intersects with his gender expression, all that, with that song.
So, what I'm getting from you, Cullen, is that you're going to make this episode 1,000 times more expensive because you want to get songs from Disney.
Well, Disney owns Fox now.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's going to be super cheap.
Scheiße.
That's why. Otherwise, it'd be like, we're not.
Oh, yeah.
Disney wouldn't give them the rights.
Wait, hold on. Is this why there are no Disney songs in the actual Glee series? Because they were not currently owned by Disney, so it was way too expensive.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think like other shows that sample music to do redo. I can't even think of any that have done a Disney song
because they're expensive and because Disney wants to reserve that for like their Disney Channel stars and stuff. They don't want other popular covers out
unless they could make money.
Yeah,
exactly
from them.
And now,
which now they can.
This is Disney's Glee. All right, so it's a whole new ballpark.
It's a whole new world.
Oh boy!
Damn it! Why did I do that joke? Why, Cullen? You're so good. You're so smart.
It's a whole new world, a whole new Glee.
Aladdin. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, so those are my ideas for Glee booting this episode. I feel like when the episode's better, it almost gives us more ideas how to reboot it, because when an episode's just like so bad, we're just cutting this episode.
I'm just
it's
like,
not-
I don't even
Bye,
know how
you're
to fix
gone.
it, guys. We're just gonna scrap it, start anew. Yeah, no, like I talked about how I would reboot Jesse's Girl, way less
Yeah.
creepy, trying to scrub the creepiness as much as we can from it. Yeah.
I would keep Mercedes and the Cheerios.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I honestly I don't there's literally no reason why they can't just continue that throughout the whole show. Like, why can't Mercedes just stay? Why? Doesn't make sense. I
Does
agree.
not make sense.
It would be so much more interesting too. Like, there's so many things you could do. Like, especially also if like our Gleeboot is gonna focus more on the kids, like with those competing schedules, like with like people being in sports and doing Glee Club, and then being in Cheerios and doing Glee Club. Like, there's so many more more of like the teen grounded issues that you could get into with that. Makes the show more interesting.
Cool. Do you want to plug our social medias?
Oh my god, our SoMe. Yeah, so we are on Instagram and Twitter at Gleeboot Pod. And right, is that right? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Wait a sec, I said it.
You
That's
made
wrong.
it.
I'm a big fan of our own podcast. And then we're also on Tumblr, and it's going to be Gleeboot Pod.
Please subscribe to our podcast so you get new updates.
They are coming.
They are coming, and
I mean, by the time you get to this episode, they will have come.
Yeah, and please leave a review, like a review, like a good review will let more people see the podcast. Yeah, 5-star review, and then spread it word of mouth. Let people know. Hey, remember Glee? Want to hear more about it?
No, too bad. Listen to this podcast.
Listen to this podcast. And follow my YouTube persona, your boy Ryan, YABOI Ryan, on YouTube and on TikTok and Instagram at your boy Ryan 99. Yeah.
I can't believe TikTok is a thing.
I can't either. I haven't posted in like a while because I've just been busy, but I have some ideas. Some content coming your way.
Some hot content.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.